An ancient evil thought to be lost forever is rising once more, threatening to plunge Middle-earth into eternal darkness. As alliances falter and betrayal looms, a brave fellowship must uncover the truth, forge impossible bonds, and face a power greater than Sauron himself. Will they stop the resurrection of Gothmog, or will this be the end of the Age of Men? Stay with us as we unravel the epic tale of the Lord of the Rings, the War of the Shadow. Middle-earth basks in an era of peace, decades after the fall of Sauron and the destruction of the One Ring. The kingdoms of men, elves, and dwarves have grown strong and prosperous, their alliances fortified by shared struggles against darkness. Aragorn, the king of Gondor, now an older and wiser ruler, presides over a thriving Minas Tirith, its white walls gleaming under the sun. Yet, beneath this tranquil surface, an ominous unease begins to stir. The chapter opens with sweeping vistas of Middle-earth, showcasing serene forests, bustling towns, and majestic mountains. This calm is broken when Legolas, now a protector of the forests of Ithilien, notices strange occurrences in the wilderness. Trees are withering despite healthy soil, and animals flee as if sensing an unseen predator. In the skies above, great flocks of birds migrate erratically, their cries echoing as warnings. Aragorn receives an urgent message from Eomer, king of Rohan. The letter speaks of tremors shaking the plains and whispers of shadowy figures sighted in the east. Though skeptical, Aragorn cannot ignore the unsettling signs. He summons his council, including Gimli, now a revered lord among the dwarves, and Arwen, whose elven wisdom guides him through times of doubt. Together, they decide to investigate, fearing the resurgence of old enemies. The narrative introduces new characters alongside the beloved heroes. Among them is Elena, a young scholar from Gondor, whose curiosity about the remnants of Sauron's empire leads her to uncover troubling artifacts in the ruins of Barad-dûr. While cataloguing the remains of the Dark Lord's fortress, she finds a relic unlike anything seen before, a shard of obsidian etched with runes in a language even the elves do not recognize. The shard emits a faint, pulsing light, as if alive. Fearing its power, Elena seeks counsel in Minas Tirith. The perspective shifts to a remote corner of Middle-earth, where a group of Easterling tribes gathers under a mysterious figure cloaked in black. This leader, whose identity remains hidden, speaks of reclaiming the glory stolen from them by the West. He unveils a terrifying plan to awaken an ancient power buried deep beneath the earth, a force even older than Sauron, an ancient servant of Morgoth himself. The tension escalates as the tribes unite, their leaders swayed by promises of revenge and dominion. Back in Gondor, Elena presents the obsidian shard to Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. Its presence fills the chamber with an unsettling cold, and Arwen senses a darkness emanating from it. Legolas recalls ancient tales of Morgoth's lieutenants, beings of immense power who were thought to be lost forever after the War of Wrath. Could the shard be connected to them? Aragorn orders the shard to be locked away in the deepest vaults of Minas Tirith, but unease lingers among the group. Meanwhile, troubling dreams plague Arwen. She sees visions of fire-consuming Middle-earth, cities reduced to ash, and rivers running red. In these dreams, a shadow looms, featureless but terrifying, whispering in a tongue she cannot understand. She awakens each time with the name, Gothmog, echoing in her mind, a name she has not heard since her father Elrond spoke of Morgoth's most fearsome general. The chapter's suspense builds as Legolas ventures to the forests of Ithilien to investigate the source of the disturbances. There, he encounters an unnatural silence, no birdsong, no rustling leaves, only an oppressive stillness. He follows a trail of withered plants to a clearing where the earth has been scorched black. In the center, he finds a circle of stones arranged in a pattern resembling an ancient sigil. Before he can investigate further, he is ambushed by shadowy figures. Though he fights valiantly, he is outnumbered and barely escapes with his life. Returning to Minas Tirith, Legolas warns Aragorn of what he has seen, describing the sigil as a mark of Morgoth's cult. Aragorn realizes they are facing a threat unlike any they've encountered before. With the council in agreement, Aragorn decides to summon a meeting of the Free Peoples. Messages are sent to Rivendell, the Lonely Mountain, and the scattered remnants of the Elven realms. It becomes clear that the peace they have cherished is now under threat. The chapter ends on a foreboding note as the perspective shifts to the eastern lands. In a cavern illuminated by eerie, flickering flames, the cloaked leader of the cult stands before a massive stone altar. On the altar lies the obsidian shard, now glowing brightly. As the leader chants in an ancient, guttural language, the shard begins to hum, vibrating with dark energy. The scene fades to black as the leader declares, "The age of men is over. The age of shadow begins." This chapter sets the stage for a suspenseful and expansive narrative, blending the familiar landscapes and characters of Middle-earth with new mysteries and dangers. By the end, viewers are left with pressing questions. Who is the cult leader? What is Gothmog's connection to the artifact? And can Aragorn and his allies stop this new darkness before it consumes them all? The council convenes in Rivendell, a rare gathering of leaders from across Middle-earth. The elves of Lothlorien, the dwarves of Erebor, and the men of Gondor and Rohan assemble to address the rising threat. The meeting begins with Aragorn recounting the troubling events, the withering forests, the strange sigils, and the ominous artifact discovered in Barad-dûr's ruins. Elrond, wise and solemn, confirms Arwen's fears. The shard is a remnant of Morgoth's dominion, possibly tied to Gothmog, the ancient Balrog and general of Morgoth's armies. If this artifact is part of a ritual to resurrect him, Middle-earth faces a doom greater than Sauron. Tensions rise during the discussions. The dwarves, led by Gloin's son Fra, are skeptical, blaming the elves for failing to destroy Morgoth's remnants centuries ago. Meanwhile, the representatives of the Easterlings and Southrons, attending for the first time in centuries, demand to know why their lands are being scouted by Gondor's rangers. Old wounds reopen as mistrust festers among the factions, threatening to fracture the alliance before it begins. Amidst this discord, a mysterious figure arrives, Erin, a rogue claiming to have vital information about the enemy. She speaks of a powerful cult operating deep in the east, uniting the scattered remnants of Sauron's armies and wielding the shard to summon Gothmog. Erin reveals that she has been working as a spy, infiltrating the cult and gathering intelligence. However, her unorthodox methods and her origins as a thief make her story difficult to trust. Some see her as a valuable asset, while others, including Fra, believe she's hiding her true motives. Despite these conflicts, Aragorn proposes forming a fellowship to destroy the artifact and prevent Gothmog's resurrection. The group includes representatives from each faction. Aragorn as leader, Legolas and Gimli for their combat prowess, Fra for the dwarves, Erin as a guide, and Elena, whose knowledge of ancient texts could prove critical. Together, they set out toward the east. As they depart, a shocking betrayal occurs. A spy within Rivendell leaks the Fellowship's plans to the cult. The chapter ends on a suspenseful note as a shadowy figure observes the group's departure from a hidden vantage point, whispering, "The king's hope will lead him to ruin." This chapter deepens the story with intrigue, fractured alliances, and the ever-present threat of treachery, setting the stage for the Fellowship's perilous journey. The Fellowship journeys into the uncharted lands of Rhûn, a vast region of barren deserts, dense jungles, and towering mountain ranges. As they travel, the group encounters signs of an army gathering, abandoned villages, scorched fields, and roads teeming with refugees fleeing westward. The deeper they venture, the more they realize the scale of the enemy's power. Rhûn, long dismissed as a land of scattered tribes, has become a stronghold of darkness. Tensions rise within the Fellowship as personalities clash. Fra, the proud dwarf, grows increasingly suspicious of Erin, whose knowledge of the enemy's movement seems too precise. Erin deflects his accusations but remains an enigma to the group. Aragorn struggles to maintain unity, aware that their survival depends on trust. Meanwhile, Elena delves into ancient texts, trying to decipher the shard's true purpose. Her findings are grim. The shard is a key to Gothmog's tomb, hidden deep within the mountains of ash. If the cult completes the ritual, they will unleash a being of unimaginable power. The Fellowship finally reaches a sprawling jungle on the outskirts of Rhûn's capital. Here, they discover a massive encampment filled with orcs, Easterlings, and monstrous creatures bred for war. At the camp's center stands a black obelisk, glowing faintly with the same dark energy as the shard. From a hidden vantage point, Erin explains the enemy's strategy. The obelisk serves as a beacon, rallying scattered forces to the cult's cause. If they destroy it, they could cripple the enemy's plans, but it's heavily guarded. The group devises a daring plan to infiltrate the camp and destroy the obelisk. Under the cover of darkness, they sneak past patrols and reach the heart of the camp. However, just as they plant the explosives, the cult ambushes them. It becomes clear they've been betrayed, someone leaked their movements. A fierce battle erupts, and though the Fellowship fights valiantly, they are vastly outnumbered. In the chaos, the obelisk is destroyed, but it comes at a heavy cost. Alena is gravely injured, and the shard falls into the hands of the cult's leader, a masked figure commanding terrifying power. The Fellowship escapes by a narrow margin, but their victory feels hollow. The cult now possesses the shard, and Gothmog's resurrection draws closer. The chapter ends with the cult leader standing before the ruins of the obelisk, raising the shard high as lightning cracks the sky. The Age of Shadow begins, he declares, leaving the Fellowship and viewer with a chilling sense of impending doom. The Fellowship retreats to an ancient elven sanctuary hidden in the Mishti Mountains. The air is thick with defeat as they mourn their failure to prevent the cult from taking the shard. Alena, weak from her injuries, reveals what she learned before the ambush. The shard is not just a key but a fragment of Gothmog's own essence. If the cult completes their ritual, Gothmog will return in a form even stronger than before, imbued with the shard's dark power. The weight of this revelation sends a wave of despair through the group. Aragorn, burdened by the loss and the rising tension among his companions, begins to doubt his leadership. Perhaps the age of men truly is ending, he mutters to Arwen, who has joined them in the sanctuary. Arwen reassures him, reminding him of the strength he once found when facing Sauron. Even in darkness, there is always light. You must be the one to find it, she says. Her words rekindle a spark of determination in Aragorn, who realizes they cannot afford to lose hope. Legolas and Gimli discover an ancient inscription in the sanctuary that speaks of a weapon forged during the First Age, the Aeglos Spear, once wielded by Gil-galad. According to legend, the spear possesses the power to banish any servant of Morgoth, even Gothmog. However, it was lost deep beneath the Mishti Mountains after the fall of the last alliance. Finding this weapon becomes the Fellowship's only hope. Their journey to the depths of the mountains is fraught with peril. As they descend into dark, winding tunnels, they encounter ancient traps, collapsing passageways, and swarms of creatures long hidden from the surface. Fra proves his worth by deciphering dwarven carvings that guide them through the maze-like caverns, while Erin uses her cunning to bypass traps. Despite their successes, tensions flare as Fra openly accuses Erin of being the traitor who leaked their plans to the cult. Erin denies it, but her evasive responses deepen the group's mistrust. Finally, they reach the chamber where the Aeglos Spear rests, but it is guarded by an ancient Balrog, long thought to have perished during the War of Wrath. A desperate battle ensues as the Fellowship struggles to overcome the fiery beast. Just as it seems all hope is lost, Erin takes a daring risk, using her agility to distract the Balrog long enough for Aragorn to strike the fatal blow with Anduril. They claim the Aeglos Spear, but the victory is bittersweet. The Fellowship is battered, and mistrust still lingers among them. As they prepare to leave the caverns, Erin reveals a shocking truth. She has been working as a double agent, gaining the cult's trust to gather information. I did what I had to, but now my allegiance lies with you, she says. While some in the group remain skeptical, Aragorn chooses to believe her, knowing they have no choice but to stand united. The chapter ends with the Fellowship emerging from the caverns, weary but determined. The Aeglos Spear glows faintly in Aragorn's hand, a symbol of hope against the encroaching darkness. Yet, the cult grows stronger, and Gothmog's resurrection looms ever closer. The final battle is inevitable, and the fate of Middle-earth rests on their shoulders. The cult's forces, now bolstered by Gothmog's growing power, march westward, leaving destruction in their wake. Massive armies of orcs, easterlings, and fell beasts surge toward Gondor, where the free peoples prepare for their last stand. Aragorn and the Fellowship, armed with the Aeglos Spear, return to Minas Tirith to rally the defenders. The city, once a beacon of hope, now stands as the final bastion against the rising shadow. As Gondor's allies arrive, elves from Lothlorien, dwarves from Erebor, and horsemen of Rohan, Aragorn addresses them. His speech stirs the hearts of the weary soldiers, reminding them of their shared victories against Sauron. The darkness has returned, but so too have we, he declares. Among the crowd, mistrust still lingers toward Erin, whose role as a former double agent casts doubt on her loyalty. Yet, she steps forward and pledges her life to the cause, her courage earning reluctant respect. The battle begins with an overwhelming assault. The cult's forces unleash war machines and dark sorcery, their attacks battering Minas Tirith's walls. In the skies above, monstrous winged creatures swoop down, spreading chaos. Legolas and Gimli fight side by side, their bond unshaken despite the dire circumstances. Meanwhile, Fra leads a battalion of dwarves in a desperate effort to hold the gates. As the battle rages, the Fellowship infiltrates the enemy's stronghold, a massive fortress erected around Gothmog's tomb. Inside, they face a labyrinth of traps and enemies, designed to delay them until the ritual is complete. Erin proves invaluable, using her knowledge of the cult to navigate the dangers. Along the way, they confront the cult leader, a powerful sorcerer who reveals his identity. He is a former servant of Sauron, bent on succeeding where his master failed. In a climactic confrontation, the Fellowship disrupts the ritual just as Gothmog begins to emerge. The fiery, monstrous figure of the Balrog general towers over them, his power immense. Aragorn wields the Aeglos Spear, its light a stark contrast to Gothmog's shadow. A desperate battle ensues, with each member of the Fellowship playing a crucial role. In a moment of selfless bravery, Erin sacrifices herself to distract Gothmog, giving Aragorn the opening he needs to strike. The Aeglos Spear pierces Gothmog, unleashing a blinding burst of light that shatters the shard and banishes the Balrog's essence. The battle outside Minas Tirith ends as the cult's forces, leaderless and disoriented, scatter into the wild. Middle-earth is saved once more, but at great cost. The chapter concludes with the survivors mourning their losses and reflecting on their hard-fought victory. Aragorn places the broken shard in a hidden vault, vowing that it will never again threaten their world. As the sun rises over the battered city, the final words echo a timeless truth: evil may slumber, but the light will always endure.